Good, good morning, everyone. We're just getting a couple settings adjusted here, and then we'll be ready to go. Okay. Welcome everyone. Good morning. My name's Kevin Woods. I'm the Director of Energy Services with the North Shore Mi'kmaq Tribal Council. And on behalf of the MB Power First Nations Energy Efficiency Program, or the FNEEP team, I'd like to welcome everyone to the webinar on the 2024-2025 First Nations Efficiency Program program, and greatly appreciate you taking the time to join us here this morning. We've had a few other participants expressed interest in this, so perhaps we will see a few others join as we go. A little bit of housekeeping before we get into the presentation and discussion here this morning. So there will be quite a bit of time for question and answer period as part of the webinar this morning. So there will be a short presentation on the 24 program guidelines. And we ask that everybody hold their questions until the end. And that's just so that we can allow our presenters, Monica and Alan here this morning, to get through their material. And then we should have about 20 or 25 minutes of Q&A that will be available at the end. So if you can leave your microphones off for the moment, you can turn cameras on or off. It doesn't, that's to your discretion. And we ask that mics stay off during the presentations here this morning. If you have questions during the Q&A period, feel free to raise your hand. We don't have a large group here, so I think we'll be able to have some fairly open dialogue. We are recording this session, and that's just for the purpose of being able to share that with those that weren't able to attend here today, and recognizing that this time slot didn't necessarily work for everybody, but the recording will also be available for communities that weren't be able to be here today, but are certainly interested in getting this update. On the phone or on the line here today is the MB Power team, the MB Power FNEEP team, and that consists of Monica Ouellette, Alan Graves, and Mike Porter. And you'll hear from you certainly will hear from Monica and Alan here this morning. All of us work collectively together to deliver this program, and we certainly appreciate again the interest that we've had to date, and we're really looking forward to working with the First Nation housing teams across the province of New Brunswick for this upcoming year, where we're trying to deploy retrofits for 300 homes across the province. So with no further ado, I'm going to hand the virtual mic over to Monica Ouellette, who will open the presentation and start walking us through the 2024 FNEEP program. So over to you, Monica. Thanks again.
Thanks, Kevin. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining. As Kevin mentioned, my name is Monica Ouellette. I'm the First Nations Program Coordinator with the First Nations Energy Efficiency Team at MB Power. And I'm really happy that you're able to join us today. And we're just going to go over our 2024-2025 program guidelines, specifically, specifically the changes that we've made to our guidelines from our 23-24 fiscal program guidelines, which was our pilot year. So I'm just going to share my presentation here before I start. Just 1 second. All right, can everybody see my screen right here? Alan, can you see my screen? Just make sure you can. Yep, okay, perfect. All right. So our First Nations Energy Efficiency Program, so we use the acronym FNEEP, and it's specifically what we'll discuss today is our residential portion of our program and the program guidelines changes for this year. All right, so what we'll go through this morning is the process. So the process for the program, specifically the quotes and prepayment, which is a change that we've made for this year's program registrations. We'll go through the eligible home upgrades, the pre-approval cost estimate form, which is also a new change that we've made this year. And then we'll have lots of time at the end of the presentation for any questions, concerns, and we can just have an open conversation about everything. So just going through the process of the program, it really has not changed really significantly at all. So if you've gone through the flow of if we've worked together last year to retrofit some homes, really the process is the same. So we start with initial communications, which we have sent our 24-25 application to all communities in late November of 2024. So it's only a few months ago. And we will be doing some follow-ups for communities who have yet registered. So that's still in the process of being done. So the application has just recently been launched. And we've also had a new component of the initial communications, which goes along with the registrations, which is just a participation agreement that will have communities sign this year, which is a bit different than we had last year. We didn't have this component of the registration portion last year. So it's just basically an agreement between NB Power and the community for the duration of the program for that registration period. So we start with that, the initial communications, and we move forward with the pre-upgrade energy evaluations in the homes that were selected for this application year. And what we have new this year is that we've heard some feedback last year from a lot of communities wanting some information on the pre-upgrade energy evaluations that are completed by service organizations that NB Power works with. So we've developed an information sheet that will provide to our community contacts once the registration is received and the files have been sent to the service organization. And that information sheet can be provided to the homeowners that are that their homes are going through the program. So yeah, we've developed that, and so far we've had some good feedback on that. After the energy evaluations are completed, we will send the community the statement of work for each home. And then we're at the point where it's just selecting the energy upgrades that will be completed. The next step after that is submitting quotes and prepayment. Now, this is a change that we've made to our process in order to actually I think it'll be better this way than we did the previous year, and we'll go. I have a slide specifically for that, so we'll go over that. After the quotes and prepayment are completed, then we implementing the upgrades would be the next step. So actually completing the retrofits. After those are done, we do the post-upgrade energy audit, and then the final payment comes after that. So the quotes and prepayment, now this is the big change that we've done this year. So what we'll do is basically last year, the process was after the quotes were submitted and the project was approved, the community had to pay the contractor upfront for the work that is completed. Now, this is still the case. However, there's a small change. So we are offering a prepayment this year, which is most likely what we'll do for each community. So the prepayment will allow for an advance on the approved upgrades on a community scale. So instead of having the community pay the contractor 100% upfront and then be reimbursed, we'll supply the 50% upfront. And then the remaining 50% is to be covered by the community until the whole project is completed, and then we'll reimburse the community for that. So we do require detailed quotes for each pre-approved measure for each home. So that step stays the same. So after the statement of work is received, you've determined the upgrades you want to do in each home. We will require quotes to be submitted for each home by your chosen contractor. And this year, we've also tried to simplify that step by creating a pre-approval cost estimate form, which Alan will talk about later on. So we'll have a slide specifically for that. But once we receive and review each cost estimate form for each home, we will provide a full project approval amount and also provide a prepayment upfront of 50% of that amount. And that'll be issued to the community in order to start the retrofits, start the work. And in this case, all the work must be completed within 24 months from the time of the prepayment. That's just an agreement that we'll have in order to keep this project. We kind of consider all the homes registered in 1 year as a complete project. Keep the projects not from, because we understand that each year we'll have homes eligible to be registered, right? So to keep that timeline together within 2 years to be completed. And if for some reason the homes in the project, it will take longer than 2 years to be completed, we will require a project completion form or project completion plan, which I'll go over in the next slide, just explaining what that is and how that or when that needs to be submitted. So the project completion plan or project completion form is something that you'll need to submit to our FNEEP team if all the work is unable to be completed within 24 months from the time the prepayment was issued. This is also in the program guidelines explaining what it is, but the project completion plan, it must include, so the current number of upgrades completed. So let's say you've completed 10 homes so far, you indicate that information there. You also provide the partially completed upgrade. So if you're also in the step of upgrading 5 homes, doing a specific type of work, you provide that information. You provide the current proof of payment document. So any current paid contractor invoices, you'd provide that information. Provide any barriers as to why it'll be taking more than 24 months. So, and we understand that that's the case everywhere. It's very possible that this might be the case, but lack of contractors, any scheduling conflicts or staff turnover whatsoever, provide that information there. And also a new target date completion. So it's just something, it's a formality just to advise us that if it will take more than 2 years, what the progress has been so far and when you're expecting for the project to be completed. So that's basically my portion of the presentation here. The next information will be provided by Alan, so I can throw that over to him.
One moment, I'll request control here from you, Monica. Good morning, everyone. My name's Alan Graves. I'm a technical energy advisor with the First Nations Energy Efficiency Program. And today I'll just be quickly going over the changes that Monica mentioned to the contractor cost estimate form and what's required there as far as completing the estimates and the subsequent model numbers and approvals as far as NRCan and Energy Star ratings for those equipments. So, okay. I have control here, Monica.
Yeah, I think it should be working. I didn't click, so that must have been you.
Maybe just a little slow here. Okay,
Yeah.
So for the 2024-2025 program, we have created this new cost estimate pre-approval form. So we see this as a tool for the housing administration to use to kind of summarize all of the quotes received on one page. So it's a little small on my screen, but I hope you can see it here. There's multiple sections. We've got a portion here for insulation details, section C for heating and hot water heater details, section D for ventilation, section E for air sealing details, and section F for windows and doors. So this form should encompass really every measure that will be approved for this program. It's a little slow to go here. So the idea is that this year we'll provide more detailed quotes, which includes both labor and material costs, the model numbers for the associated equipment, whether that equipment is NRCan approved, either that'll be a yes or no value on the for that given measure, and likewise with the Energy Star yes or no checkbox. And what's nice about this form is that it will provide automatic calculations for you as well. So you could use this as a tool to not only summarize your total cost for each measure, but it will in turn determine your unit cost to see if things are somewhat in line with each other, and also calculate your total prepayment costs. So you can add or subtract various quotes if you have multiple quotes, and kind of see how these play out and see what your total prepayment might be. So I'll quickly talk about the eligible home upgrades. So this program will cover 100% of the cost of the following energy efficiency upgrades if deemed eligible. So if it's deemed an eligible measure, it essentially means it aligns with what the service organization has recommended and what aligns with is in our program guidelines as well. So I will quickly go over kind of a high level review of what's included in the 2024-2025 guidelines, very similar to last year, a few upgrades and a few changes. So as far as insulation upgrades, adding insulation where none exists or is below the recommended R value. So that would be R60 in the attic or R20 in the basement or exterior walls. This could also be blown-in insulation in walls if none exists in a hollow wall cavity. This would be an easy way or non-intrusive way to add insulation to an exterior wall without removing drywall or siding, but also blown-in insulation in the attic would also be a recommended measure. So if you had existing bat, we could top it up to R60 above that without removing that existing bat. Closed cell spray foam in unfinished basements and headers. That's a very common measure that we see, as you don't require reframing a stud wall in your basement. This could simply be applied to bare concrete and also into existing header bays around your rim joists. Cost sharing measures similar to last year. Our program will cover the energy efficiency portion, that being the insulation, where the communities would cover any structural drywall, finishes, or trim. So a non-efficiency portion of the upgrade. So an example of that would be a rigid foam insulation on the exterior of the home, where the siding and trim would be covered by the community. Again, air sealing measures, no changes this year. Sealing air leakage points to reduce infiltration, caulking spray foam, weather stripping, etc. Ventilation upgrades, the addition of ventilation equipment if none exists or is non-functional. So specifically within the parameters of this program, ventilation equipment would be HRVs, ERVs, or a washroom fan. So nothing new on the previous slide, but we'll get into space heating. So central heat pumps are a qualifying measure within the program. Also, the replacement of oil. If you have an existing oil furnace or an electric furnace, that would be replaced with a central ducted heat pump. So not only is the replacement of the furnace included, but the removal and the recycling of the oil tank, the fuel piping, and the furnace by a certified contractor as well. Multi-zone mini splits, so that would be a heat pump with one outdoor condensing unit with multiple indoor units. A single zone mini split, so one outdoor condenser with one indoor unit. And I think the most important point here for the heating would be to have a conversation with the contractor to size and select the equipment to meet the needs of the entire home. They may recommend a multi-zone unit for the home given how the home operates, one single zone mini split, or maybe multiple single zone mini splits. So that's an important discussion that should be had. The equipment must be on the Natural Resource Canada Energy Efficient Product List. Again, the links are in the guidelines and the standard or the statement of work. And there's also a little reminder on that cost estimate form to look into that or check that box to ensure that your product is on the list. So new this year, the replacement of all existing analog thermostats with digital. So last year we had replaced all analog thermostats with programmable, so Wi-Fi enabled smart thermostats. We've listened to the feedback of the communities. It's, for the most part, we've heard that could be a little too complicated for replacement of every thermostat. So what the change will be this year is we'll replace those analog thermostats with just digital. So simple up or down, just a simple up or down temperature interface where you could, yeah, much more simple. So where we will allow one programmable Energy Star thermostat will be for central heat pump systems. So basically a thermostat that would control the entire home. Water heating. So if you're currently on oil and you have an oil fired water heater, that would be incentivized to be replaced with either a customer owned electric hot water tank or an MB Power rental. And that customer owned electric hot water heater would be NRCan approved as well. Windows and doors, so replacement of visibly damaged windows or exterior doors. And those also must be on the Energy Star certified list. And just a reminder to keep all temporary Energy Star stickers or on products until the final audit. Sometimes model numbers aren't visibly available on the windows, so that just helps the auditor ensure that that is an Energy Star product. So that's all I had for measures, just some small changes there and also small changes to the cost estimate form. Hopefully that will streamline things for yourself, and I'll hand it back over to Monica or Kevin.
Yeah, thank you, Monica. Thank you, Alan, for walking us through the program updates for this year. Everyone should have a copy of the latest program guidelines. And if you need us to resend those, don't hesitate to reach out through this inbox down here or through our personal emails. We're happy to send that to you if for some reason that's been misplaced. But at this time, we're here and available and open to any questions that you may have. And we can certainly maybe stop sharing the screen, Monica, and we can just go back to the bigger room. And if anybody has questions on the program or would like any further information, the full team is here and happy to address any questions that you have at this time. Well, not seeing any hands. Maybe I'll make mention that the recording here today will certainly be shared with all participants, but also for those that couldn't make it, as I mentioned in my opening remarks. We can also circulate as part of that the slide deck. These certainly will complement the program guidelines that, again, you should have in your inboxes or have received to date. They were attached, I believe, to the invitation for the webinar as well. But if there's anything that anyone needs in terms of support or any questions related to the 2024 program, don't hesitate to reach out to any of us or just through the generic inbox. Maybe Monica, do you want to put that the email into the chat just for the program inbox, maybe? That
sure.
would be, yeah, just a record for everybody here. Perfect. Thanks, Monica. One final call for questions. If folks don't want to go on camera or on mic here, feel free to put your questions into the chat. We can certainly respond to those that come in through the chat. And we can certainly hang out for a few more minutes.
All right, well, I'm just going to say thank you, and I'm going to take off.
Okay, thanks, Alex. Have a good day.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, well, if there's no additional questions, we'll wrap up the webinar. Again, we really appreciate you taking your time today to listen in and get that update. We'll be in touch again soon. So have a great day, and thanks again to everyone for joining today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.